In this video, we're going to take a look at how you can use the new FPE doorway type to make autosave doorway transitions from one level to another level. So right here we have a sample level called door A test. There's nothing special in it, it's just a bunch of geometry, so we have some visual representation of each of our levels, and we also have door B test, and that's going to act as our second level that we can travel to and then travel back from and go back to the first level. So in order to make a door, the first thing you want to do is make a cube. That's the easiest way. Kind of scale it up to the size that you want and place it in your doorway. And then you want to delete the mesh renderer and the cube mesh, and then set this to be a trigger, and then add the FPE doorway script to it. Next, you want to add a child transform, and that's going to be our entry. I'll just rename this to door to level 2. And our entry transform, we need to assign in the inspector, and that will be the transform where the player is placed when they enter this level from this doorway from level 2. So if they go from level 2 to back to level 1, they'll be placed in the entry. So you want to make sure that this entry is not inside the trigger volume for the door itself, and we're going to just move that door back a tiny bit like that. So when the player steps into the doorway, they'll go to level 2, and then when they step back into this level from another doorway that's assigned to go to this level, they'll be placed at this entry where the little boot icon is. And in the inspector, you see this connected scene index is set to 0 by default. We'll get to that in a second, but first we're going to go to our door B test level, make another door, and then configure those two things in the build settings. In order to save time, I'm going to copy this door here and paste it into our second scene. And we need to rotate that around before we place it in our doorway. And the reason we do that is that the entry transform, the Z forward, so make sure you're not in global, but make sure you're in local space. The Z forward is the direction where the player will be facing forward when they get into the level. So if I had this entry transform turned kind of 45 degrees or something, then when the player enters the level, they're placed there and they'll be facing 45 degrees as well. Next, I will rename this door to level 1. I'm going to save my scene. And the next thing we need to do is configure our build indices in the build settings and assign those to the correct door in the correct level. Opening door A test level again, we look at our door to level 2. We're still assigned to build index 0, so in order to correct this, go to File, Build Settings, and we have to put both of our levels that we want to be part of this door transition. We have to make sure that those are inside the build settings. So I can see that door A test is index 2 and door B test is index 3. So I don't have to make a build, I just have to make sure that they're inside the build settings. So if I go here and make the index for the connected scene be my second level, which is build index 3, save my scene, and then go to our second level and make sure that its connected index is 2 because that's the index of our first level. So if I open door A, the only other thing I need to do is put in our FPE core, which will handle all the other subsystems in the game. Save my game. When I run the game, I'll walk through the door, go to level 2, walk back, and go back to level 1. So one last thing to note before running the scene is that there's only one instance required in your game of FPE core. So we have this in our first scene, but we don't have it if we open up our second scene. We don't have a core in this scene because we don't need to, because the core is a special type of object that'll be maintained throughout scene transitions, and the different systems within that will reset themselves accordingly. So just place one in your first scene. Don't worry about placing it in the other scenes. So running the scene, we can see we're in level 1 here, and there's our exit we've configured to go to level 2. We walk through this door. After a quick loading animation there, we're now in level 2. Now if we go back through our door, we'll transition back to level 1, and then we're back in level 1.